T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lunchin with Lisa. I'm happy to see y'all for another Thursday. How's everybody doing? I know we're still kind of locked in. We're not locked up though. So, we're just in the house. It's no big deal. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm good with being in the house. How about y'all? So. Well, I will say this, Vanessa. I actually went to you motivated me because I saw you go to Great Falls Park, I believe.
Yes.
And I actually went last weekend and it was a wonderful outing. So once I did that, I was kind of okay with, I'm okay. I have my little fix. And now I'm, back at home, and it might be because I have just a lot to do at home too, but that was a wonderful outing. So I watched some of your posts and I was like, I got to get to that park. And I didn't realize that my husband was planning on taking me there, and for some reason we got sidetracked and couldn't go, but I ended up going with my mentoring group. And we took the young ladies out there and walked all the way up to the falls. So my Fitbit was going off like crazy. I know it's probably
your Fitbit was loving you, right? You got the fireworks at the 10,000 steps.
Yes.
I love the 10,000 steps with the fireworks.
If somebody has their phone on, can y'all turn the volume down on it? It's picking up.
Yeah, mine is off.
Okay. So I wanted to welcome everybody to Lunchin with Lisa, and I wanted to share with you all that I'm excited about this show because we're talking about self-empowerment. And if we don't know anything else, we need to know about how to empower ourselves because we can't depend on others sometimes to do that for us. We want to welcome, thank you, Sharon, for tuning in. She said, hello, ladies. So I wanted to, before we got started, I really want to show you how important self-empowerment is. And one of the things that I do, that's why this is a wonderful show for me, is that I have little affirmations all over the place, whether it's the bathroom, in my office, in my room. So one of the things that I have in my office that I kind of keep, there's the first thing I see. So if nobody else tells me, I have this little plaque that says, hello, gorgeous.
Hello.
And I keep this like right the first thing I see when I come sit down and go to work, because sometimes you just kind of need that. And like behind me, I have some, I think it's on this side actually, that has, you got this. So those kind of self-empowerment, messages you have to keep embedded in your head, because you'll get distracted and feel like you can't get through things. So they actually help. And I know the ladies I have on here tonight are going to help us some tips and some things they're going to share with you to help you to know how important self-empowerment is, and maybe some ways on how we can push through some of those moments. So let me introduce my guest to you first. So first we have Tina Harmon. I'm going to introduce Tina. Tina is the founder and CEO of Fantabulous You. She's a native of District of Columbia, educated in DC public school system. She also attended the University of District of Columbia and Southeast University in District of Columbia. She is a mother, evangelist, speaker, entrepreneur, author, co-author, and a public servant for over 25 years in government. I was almost thinking that I was reading my bio, Tina, because we're connected in several ways with this. DC public schools, yes. And in the federal government, we actually work in the same place for years. Her passion is to serve, reach, teach, encourage, inspire, motivate, and impact lives of women, young women, and mature women who struggle and battle strongholds of low self-esteem, knowing your worth, and walking in confidence. After many years of battling these issues and strongholds herself, she firmly believes that she possesses the divine authority and keys to empower, build up, assist, and direct women across the world to overcome these paralytic, you gave me a big word, issues which prevents them from moving in their divine purpose and destiny. So Tina hosts her own conference called and entitled The Fantabulous You, esteemed, inspirational, and motivational calls, and also hosts events. And in August 2016, Tina released her first book titled Becoming a Fantabulous You, Transforming into Your Life Purpose. To God be the glory. She also has done some other things that we're going to talk about. We're going to keep Tina right there because she's going to share some things that she's done. I didn't share everything because these ladies have done some amazing. I also want to introduce Vanessa Elam. Vanessa Elam's passion for the empowerment and freedom of women is fueled by her own difficult journey to freedom. Vanessa walks out the call of her life by coaching and mentoring women on getting out of their own way, not accepting the imposition of others' expectations, and bringing them together in sacred sisterhood through retreats, conferences, and other powerful experiences. A servant leader who delights in sharing the life-changing gospel of the Savior who resurrected her from a life of desperate survival to one of glorious and joyful thriving. She leads her tribe with the principles of truth, transparency, transformation that leads to triumph. She is the founder and visionary of Life Women's Fellowship and the She Is Free movement. Please welcome Tina and Vanessa to Luncheon with Lisa today. I am happy to have you both on here, and talking about self-empowerment is, I just thought it was a good time with everything that's going on to kind of talk about this. It's something that we should always talk about, but the world is in a different state right now. And I think people need some kind of help on how to empower themselves. We're alone. We're by ourselves. We can't connect with other people the same way we used to be able to. We can't do all those conferences and things we used to do where we could, meet each other and get some hugs. And we can't get that anymore. So we have to find other creative ways. And sometimes it comes from within. We can't get it from somebody else. So I wanted you all to start, by sharing some of the things that you had to deal with and what got you to a place where you were actually able to push yourself forward, because other people can help you, but when they can't, it's like, what do you do? So Tina, share a little bit about, what you've gone through and what self-empowerment means to you. We might have lost Tina. Tina, can you hear me? Well, Tina, I think Tina's having some technical difficulties. Vanessa, I wanted to ask you, so what is self-empowerment?
And for having me on. I'm just
I think we're not catching your word. We can't hear you, Tina. Okay, she's on mute. So Vanessa, we're gonna go ahead with Vanessa, Tina, we'll work and see okay, so she's gonna come back. I think she's trying to get her computer straight. But Vanessa, share a little bit about what the importance of self-empowerment means to you.
The importance is that there are going to be times, especially when when we have to grow, when we have to get beyond difficulties in life, that as much as it's so important to have a tribe, it's so important to have people to support you, to coach you, mentor you, or just be there for you. You've got to be able to be there for yourself.
Right.
And, there are going to be times when people can't, like even now, like you were just saying, we don't have the same outlets that we had before, but we still need to stay encouraged. We still need to stay moving forward. The mandate on our lives is that we continue to grow. Just because we're going through a crisis in the country or globally even doesn't mean that there is still not work for us to do. It doesn't mean that we don't want to continually personally grow, as well as do whatever work is connected to our purpose. So when we're self-empowered, we can get up and go when we don't have anybody to, gas us up, if you will. It's
Right.
great to have that gas it up. You need that tribe to be like, go girl, get it. You got this. But you have to be able to do it yourself. And it takes time. It takes practice. Everyone doesn't have the same formula. I love that you have your signage. I'm like that. I'm a big signage person. So I have little signs and stuff everywhere. I have them on my bookshelves. And I have apps that I use that I've recorded
Yes.
my affirmations. And even sometimes while I'm walking, I put my affirmations to music. And even so when I'm walking and hiking, I've got that in my ear. And those affirmations, it's like 18 or 19 of them, and they just replay over and over again. So things like that to really remember who we are and why we are and what we're here for. We need to be able to do that for ourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Tina, I wanted to pull you in on that. And what does self-empowerment mean to you?
Self-empowerment to me, it means building your own self up, not waiting on anyone else to do it, learning who you are and who you were created to be, and empowering yourself. Having those affirmations, looking at motivates. One of my biggest keys is the Bible. You can be encouraged all day long. I know for me, when I found out I was fearfully and wonderfully made, because I didn't wait about myself because of my struggles, because of rejection and all those different things, that when I found out who I was and who I belong to, and that I'm a king's kid, I am royalty, that I'm a designer original, I'm uniquely and fearfully made, nothing. So now I just constantly feed my spirit with that all the time, in my mind and my heart. And you got to repeat those things, because things come in to cut you off sometimes. And sometimes somebody may speak negativity to you. You may get a little doubt, but you got to go back to those affirmations. You got to go back to those words that empower you. You got to listen to YouTubes and read books that will build your inner self up. So you don't, when those different targets come, you can't from where they come from, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think, and that's where the work comes in, because some people think that, okay, well, when other people aren't there for me, or I'm feeling some kind of way, I can just go straight into, I got me. But it's not that easy sometimes. So what I try to encourage people to do is you got to do the self work first. And that's sometimes the hardest part, is learning how to trust yourself enough to love you because you said so. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we always buy what other people say about us so much faster than what we say about ourselves. So, we have to learn, and I think sometimes it's a learned behavior, because we're so, hard on ourselves or critical of ourselves, that whatever we say, and I always said, there was, I can't remember where I said it. Another time I was talking to somebody and said, when you say things about yourself, you're actually the first person, besides, God is listening all the time, but other than God, you're the first person who's hearing everything you're saying or thinking. Even if you haven't said it out loud, what's getting ready to come out your mouth. So we have
Listen, that's the
be
truth.
careful.
Yes.
Absolutely. We have to be careful because what we
Yeah.
hear is what we believe, on some level. And that's why sometimes I think we had that struggle and that stronghold because we're waiting for someone else to say something that makes us feel good because whatever we told ourselves didn't give that to us. So we got to start with us first. Then it doesn't matter what anybody else says.
I totally agree with you. I think that
Right.
the
And Lisa, it
voice
depends.
the voice that we use is so what we say to ourselves
Mm-hmm.
is the most important, actually, because we can get it from family, friends. We can have friends and encouraging us and supporting us. But for the longest
Mhm.
time, when I was going through my journey of discovering who I really was, and like my sister Tina said, that I was fearfully and wonderfully made, and actually embracing that and believing that, and then
Mm-hmm.
living from that. It's really what I had to tell myself. It really didn't, it wasn't having, you might have a momentary or short-term impact about what someone else said to me or complimented me or told me I was doing well. But it really is at the end of the day, when you get back to yourself, it's what you say. Because a lot of times we snatch the good things that people say to us right out of the air and we counteract it with something negative if we
Mm-hmm.
don't believe who we really are, if we don't really feel good about ourselves. I coach women who can't handle, at one time couldn't handle a compliment. And I can do that
Okay.
because I was one of those people where someone would say, "Oh girl, you look good today." And it's like, wow, really? This dress is like 5 years old and the hem was coming out and I had to attach it with a safety pin, and I done just jacked up the
Yes.
whole entire compliment, and the person's probably like, okay, I just wanted to tell her that she looked nice, but we do that because
Exactly.
it's a reflection of what we believe about ourselves. And it was so hard for me to just say thank you,
Right.
because I had to accept that. So I was earlier this year, well, the beginning of this year, I always ask God to give me a word for every
Okay.
year as a theme for the year. Like, God, what do you want me to focus on? Not only for myself, but how do you want me to support my tribe? And the word this year is reclaim. And so
Mm.
I had this list of things that God was downloading, the Holy Spirit was downloading that I was supposed to reclaim. And one of them was my voice. And I was like, I don't know why I'm writing this, but I'm gonna go ahead and write it because I feel led to write it. But it didn't make sense to me because I have my voice, I use my
Right.
voice. And it was just a few weeks ago that God said, it's not only the voice that other people hear, it's not only the voice you use on your talk show or when you're posting or when you're coaching or you're preaching. I want to work on the voice that you are, the voice and that you're saying to yourself. What are you saying to yourself? And I realized that I still had some things inside
Mm-hmm.
that I was saying to myself that were not aligned with everything else that I believe. So I had to jack my own self up. And
Yes,
again, that's self-empowerment.
absolutely. I'm guilty of all of the above. Everything
Exactly.
you said. I
You
think
know,
we all are, and it comes to a place where we have to
Lisa,
recognize that that's
you
what
have
we're
to,
doing.
yes.
Go ahead, Tina.
Sometimes you have to unlearn. You have to unlearn some things
Mm-hmm.
because you have different groups or diversity of women. You have this negativity started when they were young. And so
Mm-hmm.
you actually return those that were said to you. Then you have a group of women that are looking for approval. It could have been that relationship with a significant other. It could have been a parent, a family member. It could be just someone off the cuff that have spoken so many negative words to you that it becomes a part of your life. It becomes a part of your mindset. But you got to get to a place where you can overturn those things and start bringing in the positivity, because I did not always have self-esteem. I did not
Mm-hmm.
always know my worth. I did not always know my value because of what happened with me when I was young. So, as I said, when I started growing up, I was treating myself a certain way, but in the backside, I was crying. I was hurting.
Mhm.
And that's why I wrote my book, Becoming a Fantasy You, Transforming into Your Life Purpose, because it goes into your adulthood until that enemy is crushed and that
Mhm.
you really understand who you are. Sometimes it's based on your body image and how people, your skin color, if you're female, if you're male, it's based on all those kind of things. So once you begin to really see your value and your worth and you begin to learn who you are, you can reverse the script and you speak those positive things into your life of who you are and where you come from. And actually, because you came from left field, don't mean you have to stay in left field,
Yes. Mhm.
because you came from, if it was a ghetto, wherever it was, wherever you have come from, don't mean that because you came from there, you have to be that.
Right.
Right.
You
That's right.
just, when you begin to just flourish and begin to see and understand who you are and whose you are,
Mm-hmm.
and you begin to speak those constantly in your life, telling you, you begin to build up, and because your will change. But it depends on when you decide to say enough is enough
Mhm.
and walk in confidence and start speaking those things into your life.
We're losing some of your words, Tina, but yes, absolutely. And I think that's why self-empowerment is so important from as early as you can think and talk and everything else. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why this is important even for parents and what you say to your children and what you tell them. I mean, because
Yes.
you hold on to that all your life. So I think about the things that were said to me younger, and what we hold on to a lot of times is the negative. We can't even remember what people said that was nice and positive, because we hold on to that negative, and then we start to we battle with it, like
Right.
trying to prove that that's not true, when we don't have to prove that that's not true, because that's not us. But it's kind of like how our minds work. And I think a lot of times we miss the mark when they're young, when kids are younger, because and I had to, even when I did the book The Power Shut Up, I really had to have a point in there where I talk about me being a mom, and I was a yeller, because it was like I felt like all jokes aside, was like, okay, they didn't hear me at number 2, so let me just take it up to 10, so we can not waste any time, right? But
Right.
I mean, I had to really check myself a little bit and say, okay, well, my kids are grown now, but I'm sure that me being a yeller, affects them on some. They know I love them now, or whatever. But I had to come to that realization that I didn't have to yell everything, and I have to give credit to my husband, because he's the one who's not a yeller. So he was like, when you yell, you don't know how that's being translated. So it was not coming from a mean place, but it's all in how it's received. And sometimes we think when we're saying things, it's about us, and it's not always about us. It's about how
Right.
was it received. Even if your intentions weren't mean, however, wherever they are in life is how they're going to take it.
That's
Um,
true.
and then that may stick with them forever. So you never know how you're damaging
Exactly.
people by what you say to them, because they may not have been strong enough to handle it. So being able to self-empower, and do it for ourselves, like you, Vanessa and Tina, like you said, is so important, because you will all your life run across people who will try to tear it down and tell you that's not what you are. You think you cute, back in the day, or you think you cute. People,
Right.
look, young girls used to say that all the time. It's like,
Yep.
why can't I think I'm cute? What's wrong
Right.
with that?
What's wrong with that? Right.
What is wrong with thinking I'm cute? But they made
Yeah.
it a bad
You need
thing.
to
Yeah.
feel good about
Appropriate.
yourself.
Right, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
We've even felt guilty about, we've been made to feel guilty in the past. I won't say now, but we've been made to feel guilty about feeling good about ourselves, about walking out of the
mhm,
house and feeling like we look good, we feeling good, it's like, you feeling yourself. It's like, yeah, I actually am a little bit today,
Yeah, why?
it's
Why
like,
not?
because if I don't, who will?
That's
And
right.
how we feel about ourselves directly relates to how we show up in the world.
That's true.
And it's what the,
Yeah.
the simplest interaction, whether it's with our neighbor, whether it's the cashier at the grocery store, our coworkers, our church members, wherever we are, how we feel it has everything to do with how we
Yes.
respond to stress. It has
Yes.
everything to do with how, when there are tense situations or conflicts, I was in leadership at my church for a long time. I served as the women's director for 15 years. And, we had a lot of women, over 1,000 women that I was responsible for. So there were times there were going to be conflicts. There were going to be conflicts sometimes, with other groups, and how, we were going to resolve issues, or how we were going to come together and work on something. And even in that 15 years, I grew, because I used to reflect back to myself on my way home. Like, did the way I expressed myself in that meeting, did it adequately or accurately reflect how I really feel, one, about myself, and
Mhm.
how I feel about other people? And
Okay.
I think that when we're in situations where people are blaming and there's lots of finger pointing and things, that's a reflection about how we feel about us.
Yes.
And even when we don't take responsibility, that's not empowering. When
Right.
we try to push off blame on other things, that's a reflection. So that's
Yeah.
self-empowerment, Lisa. I love this topic. It's how
Yes.
it's my whole life. It's what I
Yeah.
coach, it's what I
Yes.
teach, it's what I speak on.
Yes.
It's
Because
so
at the
incredibly
end,
important.
Yeah, Tina.
yes, it is. And after the end of the day, you people to feel like they are encouraged and they are empowered, and you have the book, The Power of Shut Up. Sometimes you need to shut up, and you have to watch that tongue, because that tongue will just ditch everyone in the room, or that person. So you really do have to be mindful of what you say and how you say it. It is
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
very, very important. And the empowerment, you are so right. It is so important. And be genuine when you
Mhm.
empowering someone else. Don't just try to motivate them up, because I say it'll last for a moment. But when
Right.
you really hire someone in hire, somebody's in a stuck place and they need to get out of that stuck place, but they have fear because they're afraid of what someone else going to think about them when they do. But you have to encourage them to feel good about themselves. Let them know that their voice, and I've been hearing the word voice so much this year, their
So
voice
much.
matters.
Yes.
What they have to say matters. Everyone has a Allen or a country to reach. And
Mhm.
so they need to hear your voice. It's something unique about voice. What, because we're designer originals, right? And so there is something so unique about you that somebody else don't have that. It's a spark
Right.
that you have, and someone needs to hear that need through to bring them their release, because one empower another one empowered the next person, and another one empowered the next person. I was
Mhm.
thinking about something that you said earlier, Lisa, and you're talking about your children and things. And I remember when my son was a young person, and he said to me, he said, "Mommy, I'm ugly. Mommy, I'm this and I'm that." I I held him up because he wasn't too old, but we went to the mirror. And when we went to the mirror, I told him how great he was, how awesome he was, and what God was going to do in his life. There's greatness for him. Not talking about empowering and inspiring others to feel good about themselves. And that's what I
Mhm.
said. say fantabulous because fantabulous means awesome, wonderful, marvelous, extremely good. And so that's who we are. And there are men out here. Sometimes men do what they do because they don't know their worth. They don't know their value. Women do what we do because we don't know our worth and we don't know our value, and we let others rape us
Yeah.
from who we are until you grab hold of it and you begin to stretch out and you begin to shift away from those things. It's just so important to shift away from anything that causes you bondage.
Right.
You got to take your voice in life. I tell you, woo, Jesus, girl, this is good. I'm hot now.
Yeah, look, I was thinking about when you were talking and how even as a child I used to get teased about my eyes because I have big eyes. And kids can be cruel. They don't mean any harm, but they used to tease me so bad. So I used to, even as a grown person, I had gone places and it might have been somebody who commented on, oh, she has big eyes, whatever. But because I had, my self-esteem wasn't where it needed to be, I heard all negative from that. It was just like that was a thing, and I didn't take that as a compliment. Every time somebody said something about my eyes, I took it as an insult. Until one day somebody, because as you get older, you hopefully are working on yourself, and it wasn't that I was taught not to have self-esteem, but you out there in the world, and you just receive all kinds of things. So it's a constant battle. But as I got older and started to get compliments about my eyes, I would question it, kind of like what Vanessa was saying. I was just kind of like, like that was the fluke. Like, okay, they say something nice, but that was one person out of 1,000.
Right.
But all of a sudden, I kept running that back in my head, like what somebody said that was positive. And then I looked in the mirror a lot, and said, well, what's wrong with my eyes? Yeah, they're big, but what's wrong with them? And after a while, it became, and that's why I try to encourage young people to understand. People will tease you about things or whatever, but it's funny how God works, because a lot of times the things that people tease you about end up being your best assets.
Yep.
And if you realize that, that means that you went through some kind of growth and understanding that whoever was teasing, whether it was innocent or not, it's because I didn't know how special my eyes were, or how I didn't know. So I believe what they said. And even like teasing, because I have big eyes, it's like, oh, send Lisa, go find it, she can find it, they tease me. But now it's like, it was cute now, but at the time I was just like,
it wasn't funny at the time.
Funny, right. But now I can laugh about it, joke about it, even tell what people said about me. I had the shirt with the eyes that glowed in the dark and things like that. I think it's funny now, but that's because I kept working on me. And actually what Henrietta actually put, I hear plot twist. Absolutely, it was a plot twist. And that's what we got to start doing, is putting a twist in that. People can say, and just think about it. People are always going to say whatever they want to say. It doesn't make it reality just because someone says something. People are going to call you out your name. People are going to, question your, character and tech. They're going to do all those kind of things. But it all goes back to self-empowerment. What do you believe about yourself? And if the conversation, or like I said, the downloads I get from God did not say
Lisa,
all of that stuff you saying. So I'm going to just rebuke all of that. And I know, like Tina said, I know who I am. So, okay, but I'm going to keep moving in what I know.
That's right. That's right. So important. And all of that goes back to what you tell yourself.
One of my nicknames coming up was Mula. Right. One of my nicknames growing up was Mula Baby. Mula Baby.
Okay.
And Mula Baby. I hated that name. And all of a sudden they start calling me Mula Baby. But that's what I found out Mula was.
What is
money? That? So call me Mula all day long,
Mula.
and bring
Mula.
the prosperity. Okay, Mula. But I did not like that name because I did not understand it.
Right.
In the neighborhood that I grew up in. But when I learned that it meant money, hello,
Right.
come on now. Y'all was speaking my prosperity back then. I didn't understand it, right? But you were speaking it over my life back then. So guess what?
Right.
Call me Moolah, baby.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because it's
Call
what
me
we
Moolah.
hear. It's what we hear. Because sometimes people will say things, and you just say that's okay.
Receive,
You know,
yes.
because everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But then you have to, like she said, a plot twist. You have to take what somebody said and twist it into what you really are. They might not like it and say that's not what I said. I said, but this is what I know. So it's not always what they say, but you have to listen to yourself louder. And that's one thing we have to work on, how our voice should be louder than the outside noises and voices. And that's
Absolutely.
where sometimes we're unbalanced. The outside voices are so much louder than our own voice. And God's voice. One of the reasons for the power shut up was because we can't hear him if we're busy talking and letting
That's right.
other people talk. And it is empowering to be quiet and actually hear
Yes,
what
it
he's
is.
trying to tell you. But you will never know if you don't just get still and get quiet and hear. Because I mean, he's trying to help you to empower yourself. So, and that's why I
Yes.
keep these messages, because sometimes you don't say it out loud, but just seeing it is if someone is saying it. So, like, you know, I'm into the mugs with the messages, or this is one of my favorite cups right here.
What does that
Because
say, Lisa?
empowered, let's see, empowered
Oh,
women,
empowered
empowered
women,
women.
empowered women. I have a T-shirt with that on it. I love that
Yes.
saying.
And
Yes.
it's so
Yes.
powerful. It's just,
Yes.
I think people don't
Yes.
realize how much your words to yourself matter and how
Right.
you move in the world. So I wanted you all to share with me a little bit about what are some things that
Yes.
when you went through some hard times, what are some things that you did to help push you through? Because it's easy for us at a point when we actually know what's going on to say, okay, this is what I need to do. But there's so many people who don't know how to get through that moment. Like you can say all day long, okay, well, do positive affirmations or do this, and they don't have the drive to do it, so they
Right.
can never pull out. So what are some things you would tell them? We'll start Vanessa and then we'll go down to Tina. What are some things that can help or helped you to push through?
One of the things I can think of is something that I still do, even though it was over 30 years ago that I started doing it. And, you know, Lisa, you know my story. My self-esteem and lack of self-empowerment wound me up in prison. And during the time that I was physically incarcerated, I used to write letters to God. And the letters were really a release because in there wasn't anybody I could talk to or trust.
Okay.
So at that point, it was like, you know, it wasn't like I had a tribe of people to talk to and encourage me or whatever. You know, I had my family, of course, but, you know, phone calls were limited with them. You know, you might get a 5-minute phone call once a week. It wasn't, you know, that kind of thing. So even not having the outside influence of family and encouragement, I had no choice in there but to
Right.
either become a part of the drama and the craziness that was every day, that was going on 24 hours, or to still myself. And for me, it was the letters. And you
Okay.
know, I would write letters to God about everything, and mostly the letters would either go in the direction, of course, always praise, always thanking God, because, you know, literally being there every single day. You know, I was like, God, you know, it's another day, it's another chance. I don't know what's going to happen today, but I know you're going to keep me. And then it would flow into what I desired for myself, where I saw that I had made mistakes or bad decisions, and what I wanted my life to be. So I literally wrote out the life that I have now. I wrote it 30 some years ago. And
Wow.
so it's you know, sometimes when, you know, I post, you know, I don't post a lot, but I post often. And you know, one of my girlfriends, she was like, girl, you always excited. And she meant that in the best way. And I
Right.
said, yeah, I'm not always, you know, I have my moments like everybody else. You know, I have my, you know, I have my moments where I just need to be quiet and, you know, I don't feel so great about things. But overall, like even being here today, I was excited because this was a vision that I wrote down that I really had no shred, just the barest shred of hope that it would be even happening, because I was looking at 30 years. So,
Right.
like literally this wasn't supposed to happen, but it did happen. And
Right.
so I had it written out. And I had it written out how I wanted to be, that I wanted to help women, that I wanted to help women not be like me. I wanted to help women get out of their own way. Like I literally used to say that. And it's so funny that I say it now. I used to say it then because I knew it was me in the way. With all the things that I was going through,
Right.
I would get chance after chance. I would get a new opportunity. I would get a new job, and I would mess it up because I was messed up. So
Okay.
it wasn't until I was able to really speak life over myself, as the Bible tells us to. And we know in the Bible, David encouraged himself, you
Yes.
know. So I learned how to encourage myself, and I learned, and those letters I would go back and read those at low points. And I still do the same thing now with my journals. And I go back,
Yes.
and I'm sure both of you are writers. You go back
Journaling.
and
Yes.
you look at a journal from 3 years ago, and you're like, oh my God, everything that I asked God for is happening.
Yes.
So it's the writing was very powerful for me.
Absolutely. Actually, I love that. And that's a good, I've never written a letter to God, but that's actually perfect. I love journaling, and I do write letters, but it was always like, back in the day, it was like, I think my husband has gotten a few where he's like, okay, I need you to stop writing.
Ooh, love
So
that.
I had a limit to it was like 2 pages and don't write anymore, because I can really write a letter, but I was usually releasing feelings. So it was like, okay, 2 pages is way too much, but let's do 2. But writing a letter to God is actually a good that's a good one for trying to get out, because what we're supposed to do is
Very
claim what
good.
we want, and that's what you did. And say thank you wherever you are in life. Thank you, because everything is a blessing, good, big, small, whatever. He knows where this is going already. So it's how you handle the situation.
How you frame it is everything,
Yes,
right? How you frame it.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Absolutely. So
speaking
Tina,
in the affirmative, we spend so much time listing what we don't want,
that's true.
right?
That's true.
And it's really, we should be spending the energy and putting out there what we do want, not what
That's true.
it's so easy to go to the negative, right?
It
Just
is.
be like, I don't want a man that's doing so and so. I'm not, us, right? But then it's like, but that energy should be spent saying what I do want,
Doing a
and how I
total
do want it to
opposite.
be. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Tina, what are some things you do? Now, that's a great, I hope people
Yeah.
are taking notes. What is some things you did to help pull you through? Can you
But the
hear us?
first thing, I had to get rid
Okay.
of the pain and the hurt.
Okay.
And I had to, can you hear me? Can you
Yeah,
hear
we
me?
got you.
Yes.
First, I had to get rid of the pain and that came with forgiveness. Forgiveness of the person who spoke the negativity over my life. Forgiveness of how I felt. That's the first thing,
Yeah.
because I really started getting free into 30s. I was still crying. I was still in tears.
Yep.
And so I had to and so you really have to say, whoever you're talking to God, you're talking to somebody, or you screaming, you just got to get rid of that, because that is the first thing, recognizing that issue. And then as I grew up, I started journaling myself, and I journaled my pain in my book, notebook, journal. So I really started journaling all the time. And in my journal, I was talking to God about how I felt in tears and be free. So I actually met God. Okay. And when I met him in totality, and I began to find out, that's when my freedom really started. And so it kept on, because that thing keeps you. It was my outer image. That was my tough part. And so, and being so discouraged when you rejected and stuff, all those, you gotta get back, because it will either take you out of here or leave you in a backyard somewhere where you think that you're the only one.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to grab hold to yourself. So I used to sing. What I was going to be a singer when I was coming up. Myself, whole crowd of people, and they were cheering and everything. But it wasn't the singing; it was the speaking. And so I went through that until I got to a point, and when I really reached into my 40s, and I believe in my 40s is when I lost my father.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my issue was coming from.
Mm.
And I really forgave. I forgave. And
Mm-hmm.
then your healing really starts. And God really begins to deal with your inner self. That you really begin to look at yourself, see who you are and your value. And so, and it's a daily. Sometimes I talk to women, and that is what? Unforgiveness. That person has gone on, but you still not forgiving. So unforgiveness, releasing the past, releasing the hurt, releasing that pain. However, you gotta get that out. Write it out, sing it out, pray it out, scream it out. I'm telling you, a good scream does the body good.
That's
I
true.
know
Okay?
that's right.
Get it out. Now think you crazy, but sometimes you just gotta scream it out. And
That,
so you gotta push it out. And then you have to begin to come around positive people. You
mhm.
know, whatever that vice is, ours was hearing the word, reading the word, singing, and, and different things, whatever that thing is, so you can get your release. And the other key is stop. I had to not wait for other people to approve me. That was another key.
Right.
When you're looking for other people's, I used to look for my father's approval, okay? But I did not get that approval. I wanted to be a daddy's little girl. But being the only girl, I wasn't a daddy's only girl. I had to get a release. And when I got that release, it was a freedom like you would never know until you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're able to get free, that you can free someone else. Because I
Mhm.
was in bondage, because in my 20s and into that part of 30s, you were living a life that I called myself a sophisticated one, right? So you were doing things that you shouldn't have been doing, but you was doing it. That's why you were doing it, because everything that was still sold up inside that you needed to be released from.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So you
Yep.
got to give it up. You got to cast your cares. You got to cast all that mindset. You got to cast, and you got to forgive. FORGIVENESS. That will free you, and you can
Absolutely.
grab
Yeah.
your life, and you
Yep.
can keep moving. So after that, I was able to push through, because in that was in there came out of there. See, because when good stuff comes, so the more the good stuff was coming in, the positivity was coming in, the empowerment was coming in, the negativity had to exit. I no longer entertain it. So when you're no longer entertaining it, it can't stay in. It
Well,
has to
Mm-hmm.
look,
go behind
that,
the door.
and
It
I'm
has
gonna say something. I'm gonna say something there, because, and that's how you know, to me, when you are growing in your power, because you don't even. I know I went through some things where I didn't even, it was almost like, and I used to say, and people would laugh, but I was allergic to, I said, I'm allergic to negativity. I couldn't even sit in a room with
Yep.
people who
Yeah.
were kind of coming at each other. And it wasn't even that serious, but it was like, if there was any kind of like, you know, just kind of negative back and forth, it really kind of made me feel so uneasy that my
Yes.
body would actually react to the negativity. And that's when I knew, okay, so and part of that was, and I'll say real quick before we start sharing how they can reach out to you and things like that. But part of it was when the power shut up. I don't talk about it a lot, but I haven't had a time where I could really talk about it. But part of the power shut up came from me having kind of a panic attack because I was talking and I was, just talking about some negative things that were happening in my life constantly. Okay. It was like
Wow.
I was sick of myself. I was talking about it so much. And I think that God said, okay, she's not going to stop talking about this. She is really focused on the wrong thing. And I went to go swallow and could not swallow and thought that I thought that I thought I was dying. I literally thought that I was going to die. I couldn't get air. And it's a long story short, but I had to be rushed to the doctors and
Wow.
found out that I was having a panic attack. And it took me months to get myself back. I didn't trust myself with speaking. I had problems with swallowing. I couldn't talk on the phone. I didn't want to be around people. I just only wanted my husband there, and I tried to control my swallowing. I kept a bottle of water with me, but I actually lost like 51 pounds through that process, not intentionally, but I actually, everything within my body that was toxic, I lost. And it wasn't intentional. So my mind was not even on the weight loss. It was just kind of like, what is going on with my body? So when I lost all of those toxins in my body and negativity, I really handled life a totally different way. I didn't have the road rage I had. Nothing was a hurry. I didn't want to argue with people. I really felt like I would always see the positive. But what I noticed, which was really weird, was most people were not comfortable with me in that space. So they didn't like all the positivity. They were just like, what is wrong with you? And, and I was like, what is going on? It was really weird. But then I really kind of realized, wait a minute, we're so conditioned to the negative that that's the norm. And when I became positive, it was annoying to people. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like when I said, oh, it's okay, you'll be all right. They was like, what? I mean, leave me alone. And I was like, what is going on here? Because that was weird to me. But I kind of put it all together and said, that's why I said God works in mysterious ways. And that was his way of telling me. It seems like a bad thing, but it was actually a good thing that I went through everything I went through. And I think it was the cleansing even inside with my body that allowed me to get all of that stuff out. Of course, I found most of that way back, but I know what to do now. So I'm like, okay, Lisa, this is your fault because you know what to do. But it was a learning experience for me because I learned a lot about my body. I learned about my mind. I learned about the subconscious. And that's where the power shut up came in, because I was like, I need to shut my mouth because it's not about whatever I'm trying to get somebody else to hear or know or whatever, right or wrong. It wasn't about that. I needed to know when to be quiet and when to stop trying to assume what people need to know, or that I know it all or whatever, and just be quiet and listen for him to tell me when it's okay to say this, when is the time. I think a lot of times people just speak out of order, not because they don't, it's because they don't know, that you're not helping. We think we helping people when we telling them, like when people say, I'm keeping it real. Well, who's real you keeping it? Because it might not be my real, might be your real.
Right.
So you gotta be mindful.
Is your keeping it real just so you get an opportunity to spew some stuff out at people? Because some people say keeping it real, it's an opportunity for them to push their negativity out. So it's they're keeping it real really sums up being mean. It sounds mean and and it's not constructive and helpful at all. But it's like, oh, I'm keeping it real. It's like, like you said, keep it real to yourself.
Right. I'm not sure who's real you giving me.
Right.
So
who's real you giving me?
Yeah.
Right. So,
Right.
I mean, I have enjoyed, and we definitely have to have
Yes,
like a lot of
yes.
these topics. I think this is something that's ongoing.
Hmm.
And we need this. You all have been wonderful. But before we
Mhm.
leave, I want to make sure people know how to get in touch with you. I want them to know what you do. Because we didn't get a lot into it. So share a little bit. Vanessa, we'll start with you up top. You share with us what you do and how people can get in touch with you so that we can keep these self-empowerment coaching sessions, mentoring sessions, events, everything going.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Lisa. It's an honor to be here, really. This was
Oh,
a
thank
great
you.
conversation. I'm honored that you wanted me to be a part of it. So, I'm a liberation coach.
Okay.
She is Free is a global community of women who are literally looking at any area of their life that is not thriving, any area of their life where they are not able to completely express themselves freely, whether it's in their work, their personal life, and my sister shared about pain.
Hmm.
A lot of us are showing up the way we are because there's unresolved pain in our lives. And
Absolutely.
so, as an ordained minister, as a certified life coach, I help women to literally do a roadmap to be successful in their freedom journey. It's not about whether or not you want to be a CEO or a singer. It's more about who you need to be to reach those goals and
Okay.
what's in the way of you getting there. And that's why I call it liberation coaching. And I host events. As a matter of fact, I'm doing an event in November, very small. I have to do it in small groups because of COVID. That we're going to be doing the letter writing because
Okay.
it's very freeing. And there's 3 letters you write. The first one is to the person where you are in the relationship with, and where the dysfunction happened, and you're able to say whatever you want in that letter. The next letter is to you, about your
Mm,
part in it, because we have to own our part in whatever dysfunction or whatever is not working. We have to own our
yes.
part of it.
Yes.
And then the third letter is how you've decided to frame that relationship now and move on. And then there's some things happen with the letters. There's some exercises in between, and it's going to be a beautiful day. So I'm going to do
Oh,
that
I
with
love
several
that.
small groups of women at the Bon Secours
Yeah.
Retreat Center in Marriottsville. I had to cancel or reschedule the Goddess She is Free Goddess Getaway, the Reclaiming. We were doing that in Bethany Beach next weekend for the Jazz Festival in Rehoboth. So that's been rescheduled to next year. And
Okay.
so you can reach me at vanessaelam.com. You can reach me on our office phone is 410-934-6658. I'll put it in the comments as well. And then, of course, I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram as I am Vanessa Elam. I have an apparel line, cute, some,
Yes, she does. I will
cute,
say I bought
yes,
some of the masks
you
and they're
did. You
so
did.
cute. So you all got to reach out to. She does. She has some cute little dresses. They're hoodie dresses. One
Yes, that's what I have
yes,
on tonight is the hoodie
yes,
dress.
and which I
Yes,
still need to get mine. So you all
no
need to
problem. We still
definitely
got
reach
you.
out.
Yeah.
Yes, I love everything that you're doing. The letter thing is like, oh, that sounds so wonderful.
My friend
So
Justice and I were talking about it, and my therapist had me do it. And I was like, this was so amazing. And like the letters get burned, there's music, incense, affirmations.
I love it.
It's gonna be amazing. Yeah. So
I love it.
we're looking forward to it. We have the flyer going out this week.
Okay, so definitely share that so I can
We'll
put it in the
do.
page. I love that idea.
Thank
Tina,
you.
what do you have going on? What do you do? And then share if anything's coming up. Because I know we're busy. You hear me, Tina?
Yes. I'm the
Okay.
encourager. I call myself the encourager and the inspirationist. I will
Okay.
empower you to push past your pain into your purpose. Your purpose matter. When God gives you visions and dreams, you have to push them
Mm.
out. Don't worry about the money. You just need to start taking action and pushing those visions and dreams out. Also, I host events. My last event that I hosted was in February before the COVID. It's called the Fantabulous You Wild Heart Awards event, where Lisa has ceremony twice, and others to talk about
Uh,
and to empower we need to go. I also do the Esteem Inspiration and Motivational Live, the Fantabulous You Esteem Inspiration Motivational Live that I do on Facebook, and I will start back up and doing that live in January. It is just so important that you know who you are and you move in those things, no matter what anyone say. You go ahead and walk in it. All things are possible. All your impossibilities are your possibilities. Do it. I also am an author, so a book called Fantabulous You. Uh, Become a fantabulous you, transform it into your life purpose. I also have a couple other books that I'm a co-author in, and some other projects coming. I can be reached at www.fantabulusyou.com. I also have a business page called Fantabulous You on Facebook. My number is 202 256-6474. If you just want to have a conversation, if there's something on your mind that you're saying, you know what, I want to do this, but I can't, I'm going to tell you that you can. Fantabulous You was just a vision. I had no money. Don't know where the money came from. But God, right? And so it's
Yep.
this year, December will be 8 years since the business has been. Put your feet up in the
Wow.
stirrup and
Congratulations.
just
That's great.
push, because there are multiple births inside of you. You can get
Mm-hmm.
free from wherever you are so you can push to where you're supposed to go. And
Absolutely.
that email is fantabulousinfo at fantabulusyou.com. That's info at fantabulusyou.com.
Thank you, Tina. And I want you all to make sure you share that information, each of your information, for people who didn't catch it now, so I can put it on the page. I wanted to remind everybody, it's funny because this month is the anniversary of the release of my very first book under my publishing company called Unleash Your Superpower. And it was a collaboration that I did with 5 other people. I actually published it under my publishing company, but I was also a part of it. And forgiveness, funny, because I just, when you do these kind of when I do my shows, even with my magazine, things just seem to come for full circle. And my chapter had to do with forgiveness. My superpower is actually forgiveness. And the
Wow.
reason I said it was my superpower, because I still have to work at it, but it was my superpower because strangely enough, it was the one thing that I hated about me. I hated the fact that I forgave people for stuff, because it made me feel like that I allow people to walk over me and take
Mm-hmm.
my kindness for weakness and accuse me of things I didn't do or mistreat me. But forgiveness was so empowering. And it's usually that thing that you're thinking is not you. Like, yeah, I forgive people, but I didn't think it was a good thing. But that's in my book. That actually October 26th is when we released it. So this month is the anniversary of that book, which when you mentioned forgiveness, I was just like, oh my goodness, that's exactly what I wrote about, because it was so empowering. And I think that's where we start. When Vanessa said, you said about the pain, and that Vanessa was saying that we take in all of the negative, and empowering yourself to be able to smack that stuff back
Mm-hmm.
that's what we need to do, because it's going to come. It's not going to stop. It's never going to be a moment when it doesn't stop, but it's not going to feel the same when you start to empower yourselves. And this, to me, empowered me. I think we were the perfect example of women empowering women who empower other women.
Yeah.
And I love to see things like this. Sisterhood, I know, Vanessa, that's your thing too.
Yes, it is.
Sisterhood is so important to me. And if
It
we
is.
work more with each other than against each other, we can do
Absolutely.
so many things. So I appreciate you ladies for coming on here and joining me, and lunching with me for a little bit. I want everybody to please come
we
back
think that
every Thursday. Huh? Oh, I thought
You
Tia
know,
said something.
people think that their weakness is a failure. Many think that their weakness is a failure, but it's not. That's your
Right,
strength.
right.
And you're going to
Absolutely.
build up in that area. You know, it is your
Absolutely.
strength, you know, and you just keep going, keep pushing, keep pushing.
I
And you
so
have to be
appreciate
you have
absolutely.
to be transparent sometimes.
I appreciate you all because this has been wonderful. You can actually join Luncheon with Lisa every Thursday, 7 to 8. We go live on Facebook and on YouTube. I don't know if you all know, but on the last show, I did announce that we also a podcast. So Luncheon with Lisa can be found on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. I think there's about
Awesome.
6 or 7 platforms there. So I'm trying to do the
Yes.
daggone thing.
Yes, get the word out. This is
Yes,
awesome,
that's
Lisa.
what it is. I want to get the
Get the
word
You're
word
out.
out.
doing it.
And
You're doing
and
it.
also with the magazine, the
Yeah.
October issue should be live probably this weekend. So you all go visit Dove Style Magazine and check out the new issue. But I really appreciate you all coming on here. This was wonderful. I'm hoping to do it again. So keep those phone lines open for me because I would definitely want to do. I think we could do one
Sure.
every month and it
Oh,
wouldn't hurt
yeah.
nobody. So thank y'all so much, and I look forward to having you all tune back in again for another Luncheon with Lisa. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Lisa. Congratulations on all your
Thank
success.
you. I appreciate it.
Love you. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. So
Bye.
wonderful
Tina.
meeting you, Vanessa. Thank you.